And we're live, guys, here on the Wrestling Rewind, as my phone indicated, because I'm a professional. Uh, we have a lot to get through this week. This week, we have two cards to get through. Possibly one of the worst things I've ever seen, and TNA Wrestling had a show this week. So we're going to get into those. But before we get into it, Dave, how are you, sir?
It's a great day for wrestling, everybody. Welcome back to the only show hosted by people who actually like wrestling,
Believe it
except
or
for
not.
maybe today. Things might get a little
Yeah.
nitpicky today, I'm
Yeah,
afraid.
yeah. No, today. See, this is why we go to the past, where we can actually
Yes.
enjoy it and like enjoy good shows. Although I have to say, straight off the bat, Impact Wrestling had a much better show, in my opinion, and we will talk about it. But Dave, how are you doing? How are things getting on with you?
2020 keeps throwing me curveballs, but all in all, I think come 2021, I got some exciting things in store.
Nice.
But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
I could get all geeky and explain some other things cool that happened, but I'm gonna save that for another show.
well, don't worry. There's other shows to do that on here on the network.
Exactly.
If you guys haven't subscribed, go over to Nerd to Know Media, Nerd to Know Media on YouTube, Nerd to Know Media on Twitch, Nerd Ducks on Twitch, Periscope, all that good stuff. You're able to find us. Please like and subscribe. Hit that bell, and also if you want to get the shows, they're on Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. So we are everywhere, and of course here in Phoenix 92.5 FM and the True Penny channel. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
big
all I'm
shout
saying.
out to Sheriff Lone Star and the True Penny channel and all those guys. You guys, a lot of fun talking to and getting to know on Twitter. It's really cool, the
It is really
interactions
cool.
that we've had so far. So I really appreciate this partnership.
It's weird, right? Because like it seems like we pop the show over and then like a ton of people listen to it. Guys, join us live. We stream now. We are going to go back to Tuesdays. We're going to be streaming on Tuesdays every week at 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. We had to sort it out, but that's when we're planning to do it. So come over and interact, because that's half the fun. If you don't want to do that, Twitter is a great way to do it. I'm actually monitoring the Twitter as we speak. And also, nerdtoknowmedia at gmail.com is where you can leave your thoughts, because, feedback is appreciated. Yeah.
Absolutely. And if somebody doesn't want to chat in our little chat, what is the Twitter handle that they can find us at? They can send you a question during
Well,
the show.
for right now, because we haven't changed it yet, the Twitter handle is still at WVI Desk. We will find something better for it, but at the moment, it's still a legacy Twitter account. So, yeah, we need to come up
Tweet
with
us
a
your
better one.
suggestions, guys.
Exactly. Right, so let's get to it. Okay, I want to like get the bad out of the way first. So let's talk the horror show, Extreme Rules.
Aptly named.
Oh my god!
Aptly named.
Right, so going into it, I was like, okay, this is gonna be different. Um, I didn't. Well, what I want to say, right? The wrestling was actually good. Like the actual in-ring stuff was really good.
Hmm.
I really enjoyed the tables match, like a lot. It was kind of short, but it
Yeah.
was a super good tables match. Um,
Anytime that they stack up two tables
oh yeah,
and use them to put people through, I mark out
yeah, it's just
as soon
fantastic.
as I see
It's
that.
it's super good, but
Yep.
everything just kind of, the endings made no sense, or they were just weird.
Mm.
And then it had possibly one of the worst things I've ever seen on WWE, which is saying a lot, as the main event.
Okay, so I'm not the only one because
Yeah, it
see, a
was.
lot of people don't know this, or I've kind of alluded to the fact that I try not to watch other wrestling commentators or YouTube personalities, writers, etc., because I want to make sure that I find my own opinion.
Mm,
And what really surprised me is because stuff just pops up in my notifications because of the kind of stuff we do, was how all these people were talking about how the swamp match saved the horror show Extreme Rules. And I
no,
was
it
like,
didn't.
did you watch what I watched?
Yeah. Like, look here, we're big proponents of these cinematic matches, but
Yes.
this was atrocious. This
It was
was like,
garbage.
it was not good. It was rambling mess. Now, I like the Alexa Bliss thing as Sister Abigail. I thought it was pretty
Yes,
fun.
that was cool.
Like, it had some cool moments in it, but Braun
The
Strowman
ending, though.
can't carry
Oh,
this. He's not
man.
John Cena. He's
Yep.
not the Undertaker, right? He is.
He's not.
He's not Bray Wyatt, or he's not AJ Styles. Exactly. He's very one note as it is, and then you put him into somewhere where he has to actually like act. Oh,
It was painful.
it was bad.
And it was very clear that they were trying to do. Well, this is what's even more confusing. Is at first I thought, okay, what they're going for is we're going to do a boneyard match, but it's going to be in a swamp, and maybe we'll do some of those hardy compound things. Like, that was my thought process going into it. I didn't expect it to be a D horror movie with just terrible effects, which terrible effects was the theme of the night.
Yeah.
Terrible effects.
There's a reason for that, though. There's a reason for that.
Okay, well, we'll get into that in a second, but let's start at the beginning of the card and just try and just plow our way through this, because there was good I want to talk about, and I don't want people coming in and saying, "Guy, these people said they like wrestling. What's going on?" We do. No, we just happened to be another show this week where we like wrestling.
No, that's the thing. We did like wrestling. What we didn't like was when they moved away from wrestling and gave us something that was completely different. So look, Cesaro, Shinsuke Nakamura are your new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Had a great match with the New Day. Absolutely highlight of the card. Fantastic. Really, really good. Great way to start the show. They put on a great performance. I really liked it. It was a bit short, though. I would have liked it to go a little bit longer, but, it was what it was.
I was surprised they gave them titles.
Oh, I wasn't. Tables match is a really good way to protect them. If you're going to do a surprise swap, or if you're going to do something to change it up, a tables match is a great way to do it, because it's bad luck, right? It's bad luck or whatever. It's not as definitive as a pinfall, like you're going through a table. I agree
with that.
Yeah,
and the strength that Cesaro showed by lifting up Kofi. Oh man, I don't know if anybody saw or has watched the Broken Skull sessions, but one of the previews that they do for it on the network is Steve Austin asking Mark Henry a bunch of questions like, "Who's the strongest? Who's like the easiest to lift you? Who works out the hardest? Who, all these who's the pound for pound strongest guy in the WWE?" That kind of thing. And his answer for nearly all of them was Cesaro.
Yeah, Cesaro.
Use him, man.
Man, he deserves so much more, but I think Cesaro and Shinsuke Nakamura are a really good team.
It's a team of two people who can't really talk that well together.
You don't have to.
They just work because their wrestling is amazing.
Exactly. Bayley versus Nikki Cross. Now, I was disappointed in this.
Me too.
It was for the Women's SmackDown Championship. I love heel Bayley with Sasha Banks. I think it's great. But I also love Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. So these are my 4 favorite women in the WWE, probably in wrestling. And the match was very poor. And it wasn't poor because it was a bad match. The way they kind of ended it with the nook shot, and it's like they were buying for time. There's more something else.
It was the commentary was very odd about it too, like saying, "Oh, it wasn't that obvious." It was like they couldn't figure out exactly where they wanted to call this match either, which struck me as very peculiar.
What was weird about it is usually when they use the brass knucks, it's to the face, which makes sense. But they hit her in the ribs, and then it was like, I know they went for the finish, but it was like, brass knucks hurt, but it felt very flat. It felt extremely flat, and that was something that really hurt this card overall. Like, this is supposed to be an extreme pay-per-view, and nothing really extreme was done. Now, we're going to talk about the obvious in a minute, but as far as
this plays totally into the second match of the night, or not the second match, the second women's match of the night, because as soon as this had a screwy finish, I went, "Oh, okay. Now my hopes are gone for that being a straight up match. That's going to have a screwy finish." Yeah. And
all these matches were screwy finish. This was like a Vince Russo special.
It was. And I'm not a guy that believes that you should judge a match by its ending. I do believe that you need to take everything into consideration. However, when your entire match is building up to that ending and that's the story you're telling, then I think it can be defined by that ending.
There's two things. One, if there was a crowd here, a lot of this would probably be different.
Agreed.
And you can get away with some of it. But there's no crowd, so you're just left sitting there going, "What the hell was that?" Right?
And I miss crowds. It's smart. But I'm saying when we go back and we watch stuff from, the 2000s, 99, heck, even a year ago, it's just, I'm starting to wear thin on how much wrestling I can tolerate. A motorcycle that goes by every time we do the show. That
guy just shows up every week.
He does.
All the time. He just pops up. And no matter when we do it, we moved the show 3 times this week, and he's still here we go.
There.
He's still there.
But yeah, whatever I was just saying, I stand by.
Yeah, no, look, I agree with you. And this is one of the great things about doing the this format where we can look back, because you know it's not in a world that's kind of ruined. But with this, it's like it kind of goes to you know, to the belief that wrestling is important with its crowd. But when you look at this, it's like a lot of the bad stuff in this would have probably been patched over by having a crowd, but now it's just like, yeah, it's just poor. And this just shows it. Like MVP just declaring himself the US champion, interesting, but a Raw angle. And again,
it was a Raw angle, and I expected somebody to come out.
Anybody.
I was like, anybody
to come out, you know. But it's just like, yeah,
okay, can I fantasy book? We're allowed to fantasy book on this network, right?
We are, but 1 second before you go.
Okay,
so
yes.
So in AEW, they say why such and such isn't there once they get the virus, right? Apollo Crews gets the virus, and it's like, oh, he's hurt from an attack that happened 2 weeks ago. It's like, this makes no sense. This is dumb as hell. Sorry, go on.
Byron Saxton, to that point specifically, Byron Saxton looked absolutely, like, not devastated is not the word I'm looking for, but he looked maybe humiliated that he had to lie and say that, oh, he got an injury, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I have to cover up for something that the company could have prevented. Allegedly, is what I'm saying.
Not even that, but like, just be honest with the people. Just be like, listen, we know what's going on. At least now people are wearing masks, thank God, in the crowd. And it's like, just say, hey, he got the virus. Sorry. You know, instead of...
Maybe they didn't want to be deplatformed.
Yeah. But, like, you know, AEW, to their credit, are just like, yeah, look, it just is what it is. Like, people aren't stupid. Like, I think Vince really doesn't want people to believe that the virus is a part of the WWE universe, despite the fact that
the virus is not canon, everybody.
It's not canon, despite the fact that they're wearing masks now and there's, like, a handful of people, and it's just like, this is crazy. It's so ridiculous that just it blows your sense of disbelief, suspension of disbelief completely out of the water. Like,
it does.
But sorry, yeah, fantasy book away.
Fantasy book away. Okay, so they have to forfeit. Why not have the Intercontinental Champion come out and say?
You just want to see AJ Styles.
I do just want to see AJ Styles. Why not have AJ come out and say, no, you have to earn your titles around here, and they could do some kind of like back and forth with them, and they could do almost like some sort of, I don't know. That's as far as I fantasy booked was. I want to see AJ Styles on this card, and that was where I could shoehorn him in. I haven't thought it through. I'm not a booker for a reason.
Well, on that point, what they could have done is they could have AJ Styles come out and have a champion versus championship expedition match.
Okay, maybe that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah,
and it's kind of like, if you can beat the Intercontinental Champion, then you get to become the U.S. champion.
Yeah, like that would
have been a cool concept.
Yeah, but again, here's the thing: if WWE, modern WWE, Brent has this saying. Actually, we came up with this theory. So, if something is fun and interesting, WWE won't do it. It can't be one fun and interesting. It has to be one or the other. So, yeah. That's it. But
ooh, that felt good. I got like
you got the
10 years of shackles taken off of me where I wasn't able to fantasy book. That felt good for a moment.
I don't see a problem in fantasy booking, to be honest with you. It's not a crime. That should be a t-shirt.
No,
fantasy booking isn't a crime.
Fantasy booking isn't a crime. Oh, speaking of masks and merchandise, big announcement. I have ordered my AJ Styles face mask. I can't wait for it to come.
I have an N95 mask that I wear, and it's absolutely hell because you can't breathe with it.
No, they suck. I have to wear them for 6 to 8 hours every night.
Oh man!
They
suck. They suck so bad. It's like, this is, you know.
And we don't even get the KN95s. My company's cheap. Yeah, that's right. I know you don't listen to this show. My company's cheap, and they just buy us those little cloth things to put on. Like, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Once so much shine in, the fact that Monster 95 chimes in, the fact that an AJ Styles mask exists is simply amazing. So yeah, we have an
maybe when it comes in the mail, maybe I'll wear it for a show,
or have it up beside you. Oh, so
yeah, I'll put it on like Drew. Where's Drew? Drew McIntyre.
Drew McIntyre's there. Yeah, he's over there. Yeah.
He's there somewhere. There's a great picture of Asuka down here too. By the way, if you're listening to the audio version and wondering what on earth is going on right now, you should check us out on YouTube or Twitch.
By the way, before we get into it though, Kairi Sane is gone from the WWE, and it makes me really sad because I love
Wait,
Kairi
what?
Sane.
I thought you just said they re-signed her and all this stuff. You were so happy.
No, she's gone. She's moving back to Japan because she got married recently, so she wants to hang out with her husband.
Oh.
And I'm like, all right, that's
Fair play.
But they didn't like beat her or write her off. They actually gave her a pretty good send off. But I'm sad because I love Kairi Sane. She's like next to Asuka. She's like my favorite. Like, you know.
Wait, a big anime head like you is really attached to the female wrestlers? I never would have guessed.
Well, she's like my probably my favorite female performer on the Raw roster. So it's like awesome. That sucks. But Asuka is a close second. So at least, you know, there's Asuka. But it just sucks, man. It's like, why did, you know... Although, look, fair play to her for getting married. She wants to go and spend time with her husband because she doesn't know if she'll be able to go back to Japan or anything like that. So I suppose you have to kind of do it in the climate. And WWE obviously are like happy enough, so I imagine she'd come back when all this blows over. I have to say, Becky Lynch as well probably made the right decision by getting out of Dodge and taking some time off.
Oh, I mean, trust me, this is not the time when you want to mess around with stuff like that. Like,
not.
the future is more important than the present.
Definitely. But, okay, speaking of Becky Lynch's husband, or... They got married, yeah, didn't they? I think so. Seth Rollins and Rey Mysterio, right? So this was an eye for an eye match. And when I was watching it, I'm like, there's no way this is what it means. It can't be what it means.
Oh, it was what it meant.
It was what it meant. So the only way you can win is for one competitor to extract the eye of the opponent.
If you watched the show and like heard it last week and you heard my great pontification about how this could be a changing of consciousness for the Messiah,
exactly what it says, yeah.
Yep, it is. It was a horror show.
And it was the dumbest thing I have ever seen in my life.
This is no secret, I'm a huge deathmatch fan. I just bought, finally, my first wrestling show of this year. I'm going to be attending in a couple weeks. A 2-day deathmatch tournament that I can't wait to go to.
And we might have the organizer on the show too.
Yeah, let's promote things that we have. Well, actually, we have kind of set in stone, but yeah, let's promote things we've only set into.
You have to book ahead. If you don't, this is what WWE don't do. That's why they're
yeah. You got to book ahead. Give the tease.
You have to let people know what's happening instead of just random stuff at the wall every week.
Well, I guess to that point, next week's show, we're going to be reviewing King of the Ring 1998. Yes. And Mr. V, my old co-host for 3 years, will be joining us. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm so excited
because that's the pay-per-view of The Greatest Lie Ever Told.
The Greatest Lie Ever Told. Yeah. I know we've covered that match, we have not covered that match. Yeah, and First Blood. But we haven't covered that match in context with the rest of the show. So I'm going to be curious to see how it feels. Yeah.
It's going to be fun.
Besides, who doesn't want to keep talking about that match?
Yeah, exactly. Right, so eye for an eye match, right? So it was your straightforward. Okay, right. It's a blood feud. This is why it made no sense. It's a blood feud, and it starts off with them doing flips and holds. And it's like,
yeah,
what? This is, bring out a little screwdriver or something. Try to shiv him, because it's like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like if you're doing this, wrestle towards that kind of style instead of just, hey, we're going to do a wrestling match and then we're going to work some spots in, which is what it felt like.
It was very paint by numbers.
It was very paint by numbers.
A very cool move though that I really enjoyed, and it was actually kind of ruined because they basically did the spot to like back to back, but it was Ray doing his slide out of the ring and he turned that into almost like a Code Red power bomb into the barricade. I thought that was great, but then literally right before that, they had done a Hurricanrana into a power bomb into the barricade, and I was like, "Why aren't you mixing it up?" It was just very oddly booked. And
it was a standard Rey Mysterio match, and I say that as in like
with much respect.
Oh yeah, it's like, look, Rey's great, but it was very much your move, my move, and then we go to the finish. Breaking a kendo stick to poke someone's eye out.
That was cool.
But also, again, there's other ways to do it. So look,
I was looking for spoons. That's what I wanted to see.
I don't know why they didn't do that. That would have been cool. Spoon the eye out, So apparently what happened was Rey Mysterio would have won this match if he had re-signed. He didn't re-sign, so that's why Seth run. So they shot it earlier in the day, so it wasn't live, which makes sense. And apparently they shot a much more gory CGI filled thing where they actually pulled the eye out, which is why Seth Rollins got sick. But Vince
Yeah,
said no.
him throwing up bothered me more than seeing the fake eyeball.
Yeah, I was like, that's really. Also, it was kind of like, why is he so freaked out and Dominic isn't screaming his head off that his dad is blind now? Like, because we miss a one eye, so it's like he seemed more upset about it than anyone else. You know, I don't know about you, but if you ever seen anyone get injured in that way, you're like, oh man, this should freak out.
Oh,
like,
it either puts you into an absolute freak out or absolute shock, and Dominic was in neither of those two.
He was just like, hey, I'm on TV. It's like,
yeah, he honestly, and first of all, you're gonna send like just a referee down to help things out. Where the heck was the whole medical team?
Yeah, you know what they should have done? What they should have done is they should have had like a shot with like, and they would have done this in the Attitude Era because we've seen it, right? They would have had like, and we have the EMTs waiting backstage, shoot the ambulance. They don't actually have to be there, but just make it feel real. And then be like, hey, look, just in case this is a serious match, blah blah blah. No, none of that. It was like none of that. And the way they did it, where it's like it was like a marble that popped out. It was just like, man, this is so lame.
And then not only that, this wasn't just WrestleMania. Shout out, great YouTube channel. This wasn't just WrestleMania. This was also, what was the point? Like, we knew it was probably going to be Ray because it's a lot easier to conceal something in a mask. But then, no, it had nothing to do with that. They just over-edited it. It was like watching who's that guy? A Michael Bay film. I couldn't follow any of the action. Also, it was just cut.
No blood. Yeah. No blood. It's like, listen, if someone hit, I don't know if you ever broken your nose or ever got hit in the nose or anything like that. Or hitting you.
No, I'm an upstanding citizen, Dara. I would never be engaged in such activities.
But stuff bleeds. If someone, I've never lost an eye, thank God, or seen anyone lose an eye. But that stuff would bleed like you wouldn't believe. Case in point, the ladder spot from a couple of years ago, where and it's just piss blood. That was
Joey Mercury. That was Matt Hardy's idea, and it's one of the reasons that to this day, Paul London, oh my gosh, I'm plugging all my favorite wrestlers, that Paul London has no respect for Matt Hardy because everybody in that match went to the hospital, including Jeff, at some point to check in on Joey Mercury, except for Matt Hardy.
Well,
so there you go. Sorry guys, but those are the facts. # facts.
But that's kind of it. It was a very disappointing 80-minute match that had some good spots in it. But what they should have done is they should have just done anything else. It's like a loser leaves town.
That's a great. What they should have done is literally anything else.
Literally anything else. Just don't promise something. It's all about expectation, guys. If you set an expectation, you better deliver on it, or you're gonna be upset. And that's the problem. You promised blood here, you didn't deliver it. Like, it's just it's that's why people are upset. Like, it's not rocket science.
And then Charlie in the back is quickly saying, well, the ocular nerve is still attached, he's going to be fine. Well, then what was the point?
And the reason they did that was in case he comes back. So when he shows up, they're not like, what happened? Although to be fair, it's WWE, they'd probably just be like,
but they could give him a Drago style mask instead, where the eyes are covered. Well, no. Yeah, I think that's him. Or like the eyes are covered, or like a Sin Cara style.
No, because then it's like, how is he seeing?
Well, I don't know if you're aware of this, but there was this great series called Daredevil.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's just, I don't know, man. It was dumb. WWE, I don't know what drugs they were doing, but kind of.
But you know what it did do, and I got to say this, it made people who don't pay attention to wrestling see something pop up in their news feed. This actually did make mainstream news because I got a text.
No way.
I did. Yeah, I got a text from my girlfriend who was like, "Is this what you're watching right now?" And I was like, "Yeah, but this isn't what I'm. This isn't. Don't judge us by this, man. Like, I swear to you, this is not what wrestling is like." No. By the way, I'm going to a deathmatch tournament in a couple weeks.
I'm so jealous. So jealous. But, okay, so then we had a screwy finish with Asuka and Sasha Banks. We had another screwy finish with Drew McIntyre.
Good match, though.
It was a good match. That's the worst part. It was a great match, but it was so screwy. Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler started off as a screwy finish and continued that way, where the Extreme... So Ziggler could do whatever he wanted, but Drew... It was a singles match. It's like, what's the point? Like, what is the point,
Gotta be honest, I skipped this match. I'm not even gonna pretend I watched it.
You missed nothing. It was no consequence. And then Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. As we said, the worst thing that I've seen in wrestling in about a decade.
So, what are we to believe that for those of us, or those of you like aren't aware, they did this at the Quiet Compound, and they tried to incorporate different. I don't even care enough to explain it. It was crap. Don't watch it.
It was
I like
garbage. It was
literally
garbage.
don't go watch it. But
Absolute
so like the
garbage.
ending, what were we supposed to assume that he got thrown into a swamp and torn up by alligators?
From my understanding of it, it's that good Bray Wyatt is gone. Either World's Bray Wyatt is back, but the Fiend is taken over, and that's basically it.
So does this mean no more Funhouse?
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. It makes no
Whatever.
sense.
I
Like
don't
it's just
know.
it's
Okay.
they've completely lost the wheel. But look, the show gets a D minus solely for the tables match.
This is the worst lockdown pay per view that this company has had by
I'd
far.
say it's one of the worst pay per views they've ever had. Full stop. It's
It's hard to
terrible.
judge without an audience. I don't know. Maybe
Oh, dude,
this
it's
could have been
terrible.
better, but
No, it's terrible. Like I feel bad because everyone in there put on a great match. It's just the finishes. It's the TNA problem. It's like, oh, let's do some great matches and absolutely ruin it in the last 2 minutes. And
yeah, they did that.
and
Yeah.
that's what took down TNA. So